Hello friends, welcome to Usana's Dialogues. Today we have Mr. Damdin Tsogbadrar, head of the Standing Committee on Justice of Mongolian Parliament. Mr. Damdin is here to attend the 25th edition of Maharana Pratap Annual Geopolitics Dialogue, which we organized on 13th and 14th March in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs. So today, Mr. Damdin is visiting Usana's Foundation's office and we are going to ask him a few questions about the emerging world order. A very, very warm welcome to you, Mr. Damdin.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your headquarters. And you organized recently a very important, timely dialogue and conference. And it was, I think, was very important in terms of bringing these experts together and really talking about what do we do about the current situation. And this issue of dialogue, reconciliation, is not an issue of one or two countries that are involved in it. It affects everybody. We have nothing to do with that, but we will be paying more price for the fuel. And it will be spiraling. Everything else will be getting, more expensive. Therefore, we also have to say, our views in terms of bringing the sides closer together.
Yes.
Because it may not be possible today, but eventually modern conflicts, most of the time, if you look at the statistical probability, most of the time they end with pens and diplomacy.
Yes.
They start with guns and they end with pens
and diplomacy. Thank you very much. You beautifully highlighted the role of dialogue and relevance of diplomacy in geopolitics. Unfortunately, we seem to have forgotten that, but I'm very hopeful that it's going to come back. So my first question to you, you have a very vast diplomatic experience. You have seen the Cold War, you have seen the transitions from the Cold War. But today, mostly like after 2020, what we are seeing is a sudden transition, from the relatively stable and relatively, not absolute, rules-driven global order to a changing world order where we have once again the principles of might is right are back, and and we are seeing a lot of wars and conflicts around us as we speak today. Israel and Americans are fighting with the Iranians. Cities are being raided, bombs are being dropped on various civilian infrastructure and also military bases in the West Asia. Things look very dark. What's your take on the future trajectory of global geopolitics? I mean, over the next few years, after all, where are we heading to?
It depends on the global community, on us. So it's like before our own selves, we have to prove how Homo sapiens intelligent we are. So for some, it may be proving before God, how righteous we are. Everybody can look at it from their perspective, but we're being challenged as to how smart we are. And you asked about the international architecture, where it's going. Most of the time, first, in human history, we saw ups and downs. And then this rule-based system is not a new thing. It was always there, and it has to be there. This system does not ask leaders, can I be part of your life? Life dictates its own conditions on decision makers, on communities, that eventually, without rules-based system returning, you cannot do anything.
Yes.
Even during Genghis Khan time, Genghis Khan was the emperor, the Han of Hans.
Yes.
He needed international law.
Yes.
His envoys had to enjoy immunity. That's international law, the core of public international law as we know today.
Yes.
Having, all his power and influence, not on every occasion of breach of these rules, he could send the military to solve it.
Yes.
The world was too big to handle only with military. Therefore, this order has to be there. And during war times, people think that it's irrelevant. Who observes these rules, etc. But wars end,
Yes.
and they end with the more conviction, persuasion of us in the need for international law, and therefore we start developing, and that's what we call progressive developments of
Yes.
international law. So it doesn't stand still where it was. So therefore, what's going on now is a test of the system, and the law did not disappear. It is still there, and therefore, all the countries are accountable. That accountability did not disappear.
Yes.
People may be thinking that it's not there, it doesn't matter. No, it's not like that. And after the conflict, the law, it will end with the treaties. What is a treaty? It's a source of international law.
Yes.
So therefore, you will end up again in the territory of where laws are observed. So therefore, this is what's happening now. We're being tested. Yes, new architecture of international relations. It's been after Cold War. We had this brilliant time of globalization, and now it's my personal view. When everything is good, we're too mortal to understand the virtue of that good. Yeah. And we want more good. If it's anyway good, maybe you cannot have more good in this particular time of human development. Probably science, economy is giving us the most it can offer
Yes.
to us, and we want more. And therefore, we are always discontent with what's happening. And then we're starting to ruin, trying to change the international architecture. And therefore, this globalization was a very good system, which we are unfortunately, as mortals, we're starting to ruin it.
Yes.
But there is always, in every cloud there is silver lining. If it was to be challenged, and it was to be challenged, if not today, tomorrow. So now it is challenging, which means this is a chance then for us to come up with a better, if possible, more improved international order. And this is a chance. The only thing is that starting from 2014, I was really talking about, apparently the globalization system was too good for us to preserve. And now if we are ruining it and starting to build, and we will have to build this new structure of international relations, then what I was suggesting is that in order to prove that we're human beings, intelligent beings, now this is one time where we can intelligently start designing a better system.
Yes.
Instead of leaving it to the fate, to the balance. And then this balance creates kind of a system on its own.
Yes.
But then this may not be a bad system, but we still, if we jointly, collectively work on it, agree on weaknesses of the previous system and fix it, then we can build a better system which can last longer.
Yes.
So we're being tested. Are we smart or not?
Yes.
So if we leave it to the balance of powers and how it self-organizes, then we're not all that smart. If we can jointly start building that new structure, then we're really proving that we are smart and intelligent. So the system I was proposing, starting from 2004, was multipolar, pluripolar, multi-axis architecture of international relations. And one of the axes was Indian Ocean.
That's interesting.
Because now people are saying, well, we lived in monopolar world, but I disagree with that. The post-Cold War system was maybe mono-axis, Atlantic Ocean axis, transatlantic, alliance was the lead player. So axis-wise, we were mono-axis, but pole-wise, we had Americas, Europe.
Yes.
So again, we had at least multipolar system, because in Asia Pacific, we had Latin America growing, India growing. So there were many poles. That's my argument. Now, the idea that I was proposing is that, well, then starting from 90s, trans-Pacific trade and investment started taking over transatlantic. So it's already two axes.
Yes.
And then now Indian axis, India, China investing into Africa, for example, and India-China trade investment. All of this is giving a new impetus to global economy. So therefore, this trans-Indian axis was adding to the multi-axis system. Therefore, I was saying multi-axis and pluripolar system.
That's great. Thank you very much. I mean, great thoughts. Now, since you just mentioned about the polar and multi-axis global system, so in that framework, how do you look at India's role as a balancer, or as maybe as a swing state, or whatever you prefer to define, in the emerging world scenario amidst all the global conflicts? How do you look at the India's role?
I do not see India as a swing player. India was a very principled, spiritual player, and it stays on its position. In other words, it was always trying to portray this message of dialogue, communication, spirituality. Many may not be taking it seriously, but in today's complex world, if we downplay the factor of spirituality, and if we only think about technology, dominance, money, we will not find peace. So, therefore, when India stays on its position, trying to give that neutral sense, rational signals to other players, that would be a very important thing, because now I always say that peace is personal. Peace is not provided by some big players and that's it. Peace is a matter of everybody. It concerns everybody, and everybody should be talking. And if I'm already giving a big value to an individual voice, then a nation like India, its voice can be very powerful.
Yes.
And therefore, many countries listen to you. Many countries listen to you. Mongolia, for us, you're our strategic partner. And this strategic means we listen to each other. And we can amplify each other's voice, especially sharing Buddhist heritage.
Yes.
This voice of harmony. Yeah, in today's world, right now, people may be thinking, it's unrealistic ideas. No, this is final solution.
Yes.
So, therefore, this voice should not be overheard, should not be silenced.
Yes.
And at one point, countries will have to listen to it.
True. Very true. Thank you very much. So my last question is about Mongolia. Mongolia is very strategically located, very interesting location. I mean, you have Russia up north, you have China in the south, and then this entire Central Asian territory. Very interesting location, and we see that in this emerging world scenario, China and Russia, more or less, they are going to be on the same side. So, given all these, permutations and combinations, how do you look at Mongolia's future geopolitical trajectory?
Well, we have with the end of Cold War, we have come up with this new foreign policy strategy and concept. And this concept, understanding our location, gives priority to have a good relationship with two of our neighbors in the first place. And then we pronounce this policy of third neighbor, which means besides these two neighbors, we are also having very close relationship with the rest of the world,
Yes.
including India, and your strategic partner,
Yes.
which means you're as close as
Yeah.
our two neighbors. So for us, again, the very essence of our policy is to propagate and to support and to provide advocacy, to add some additional argumentation to the need of communication and diplomacy. Because through this means, the world was progressing. Through wars, it was destroying what was achieved. And therefore, we have this belief that diplomacy should work and it can work. Sometimes it's very challenging because when somebody comes up with different counter argument that, well, you have to face reality, face the truth. Yes, if there are times of facing truth, and realism in international relations has not vanished. It's there.
Yes.
Power matters, and we're not naive to overlook it. But on the other hand, it's always temporary. It's always temporary, and then it ends. Now the job is then how that once it ends, we can build a system that provides the basis for longer
Yes.
period of stability before we go crazy again in some future.
Yeah.
So therefore, what I'm really saying is that our role is like India. We're really talking about peace, and in our region, actually, for example, China is showing a great deal of restraint. They're also being
Yes.
exposed to a lot of provocation.
Yes. Yes.
But they are, staying put on their position, and they so far, what we've been observing is that they've been always talking about dialogue,
Yes.
and they're not tired of it, and they should not get tired, because imagine it takes 1-2 countries to getting tired of dialogues.
Yeah.
Country like India or China, if they get tired of dialogue, the game may totally change. So therefore, it matters when countries keep talking about this progressive agenda. And we will be aligning with those countries who are talking about peace and diplomacy.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thanks for your very insightful and enlightening views. And definitely, we look forward to inviting you more often in the future to our annual conference and other events.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Looking
Thank
forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.